Okay.
And I would get about
Okay, are you guys ready to start? Yeah. Let's start this thing.
Let's do it.
Okay, it seems like this is a huge production for kind of a small event, but what I was told by former clinical teachers was that it would be nice if we could videotape our events so that if they weren't able to make it, that they could at least watch by video. So hello clinical teachers, we're glad that you are watching this. Welcome to the Dallas ISD Career Workshop. So the most important thing that we want you to realize today is this is about you. We really feel like you guys are the best of the best, and we want you to teach in our district. Okay, so if there's anything you hear tonight, it's that. We want you. We think that you are awesome. We want you with our students, and so when you graduate in December, we would love to hire you. So we want to give you the tools and resources to make sure that you sail on through those interviews, that you sail on through those, just the whole process of getting a job in Dallas ISD. So at any point, if you want to stop at all for any questions, please do. This is very informal. Once again, we just want to make sure that we are supporting and welcoming you as best as we can in the district, okay? So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to look at a couple of things that we have put on the table for you. The first thing is the clinical teacher packet. This packet right here just talks a little bit about what our workshop is going to look like today. We're going to first start off with the interview. We'll do a quick interview presentation, and then we're actually going to conduct mock interviews today. So this will be really, really helpful for you as you are practicing this interview when you're going to be going before at least a principal, probably more people, some teachers and assistant principals. Then after that, we're going to work on resumes with you, just making sure that your resume is educationally focused and results driven. Probably you have some really good things in your resume, and all we want to do is just polish it, okay? And then lastly, we want to talk very briefly about working in Dallas ISD and what that looks like, what the salary looks like. What does an offer look like? What does our Teacher Excellence Initiative look like? What opportunities come from being in Dallas? Why would you choose Dallas over Fort Worth or Irving or Grand Prairie or something like that? So we want to kind of talk with you about why we think that we're the best district. So before we go on, I want us to introduce ourselves. We'll actually start with the volunteers, which I'm really grateful for them because this is outside of their work hours, and so they've come here to help out today. So I'll start us off. I'm Jill Peoples. I think I've met everyone before, but I'm in charge of the clinical teaching program. And so it's my job to make sure that you're placed, that you feel welcome, that you feel supported in the district. So once you're done, you think about Dallas for your teaching experience. Tony?
Well, we should go with the head volunteer himself. Well, we gotta go out of order apparently, someone's shy. My name is Jordan Carlton. I manage the talent acquisition team in Dallas. I work with Joe.
Jordan's the boss.
He's the boss, the head volunteer. My name is Tony, and I am one of the recruitment and selection coordinators. I also work with Jill and Jordan. And in our department, I focus on our social media, and I created a flyer that's on your table. It's a beautiful flyer.
Yeah.
My name is Priscilla Vega. I also work on the recruitment team, and I specifically work with international teachers, but I'm happy to help everyone.
My name is Dr. Mansour. I'm the research coordinator for the district. I also work with all these beautiful people over here, so we're here to support.
My name is Zach Bortner, so I don't work with recruitment. I work with talent and staffing. I'm a talent partner for several feeder patterns, so I work directly with the principals to find talent for them.
So what's really cool is you really kind of start off with me. It's almost like if you can think of a 4x4 where you run the first leg of the 400, and then I pass the baton on to the teacher recruiters, and they really help like solidify and find a good spot for you, a good placement. They connect you with principals, and then after they help connect you with principals and you get that interview and you nail it, then they pass the baton on to Zach's team. And then Zach works on making sure that you get processed, your hiring work gets processed, you have the correct salary that you get, and then after Zach passes it on to you and the principal, and that's where you start like rolling. And you're like running that race. So anyways, if I can like start off with that analogy. Okay, all right, excellent. And then let's go to the actual clinical teachers. There may be some classroom observers here today, which if you guys are here, I'm so excited. Our theme is always the more the merrier. So let's start with you, Jose.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, hi, I'm Jose Robles, attend Texas Tech University. I graduated from the W. Samuel Early College Program in 2016, and from the inaugural class. And, yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Tanya? Come on.
I'm Tanya. I'm a clinical teacher for Texas Tech, and I will be graduating in December with my certification in ESL.
Just a quick little fun fact about Tanya. Some of you guys went on the school tours with us. Tanya broke her foot. Didn't know it at the time. Thought she had sprained it. And we probably walked 2 miles each day, and with like 14,000 steps. And she had a broken foot, and she didn't realize it. And she was a big trooper. So we just found that information out.
Hi, my name is Stephanie. I am from UTD, and right now I'm at Sherrick Elementary doing 5th grade science bilingual.
Hello, my name is Sandra Natal, and I am a special education major with WGU, and I'm currently at Medrano Middle School teaching, or student teaching, with my host teacher, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders.
How do you like Medrano?
I love it.
I know. It's such a wonderful middle school.
It is. They're
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm really having a great time.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. Yes, ma'am. Oh, we already got Zach. You're good.
Oh,
You can say.
yes.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Dominique. I'm a staff specialist for school leadership E.
So Dominique is one of our volunteers as well. She's gonna help us with mock interviews today. So she, along with Zach, they have that baton where they like take you through the hiring process. So thank you for being here, Dominique. Okay.
Yes. My name is Lucy Belvois, and I'm a student at Crystal College, and I'm doing my clinical teaching at D&D Rogers with Ms. Morales. And I'm graduating in the spring. So.
Hi, I'm Maria Morales. I am student teaching at D&D Rogers. I am at Redstone University, and I'm graduating in December.
Awesome. Principal Levito. She's a rocker and a roller, man. You can't put anything past her.
I'm Giles Mullen. With alternative certification with TechSite, Texas Institute for Teacher Education.
I always have to Google that one.
Right. Currently at clinical teaching at Nathan Adams Elementary, ELAR, 3rd grade and 4th grade.
Awesome. How's the mentor teacher? You having a good time?
She's been teaching for 42 years.
42 years.
Wow.
So,
It's good.
yeah, and she's pretty, pretty straightforward and demanding.
Right. Well, it's good that you are getting a really good experience to identify what you want to do, what you don't want to do. If you ever want to be a mentor teacher, you can start learning, how to mentor, how not to mentor, all those things.
Mostly staying late. I average between 6 and 8 o'clock every night.
Wow. Wow.
So I'm always chasing sleep.
Yes, I bet you are.
I'm Evangela Robertson, and I'm doing an AC program at the same school as Angela.
I can't even say it now, I'm joking and laughing
Tech site,
about
tech
it.
site.
Yeah, tech site, yes. And I'm it's been a long day. I had an eval today, so I guess I'm still, you know. I am student teaching at Casa View Elementary.
Awesome.
Yes, in second grade.
Good.
So it's going good.
Awesome. Good. Excellent. Well, what's really good here is that you guys, it's a wonderful opportunity for you to network with other clinical teachers that are here. It'll be so nice because you can really fill each other's pain at times. You can talk about the things that are going well, things that you know. So get phone numbers, get emails, do what you need to do, but try to connect with some people here today. Okay, so turn to the second page of your packet. Okay, so the first thing that we want to talk about is just the overall upcoming events, news, things like that. Most of you guys know about these events because I call you, I email you, I text you, I show up at your door. Like I do all these things to get you to know about these events. So the first thing I want you to do is make sure that you apply. Has everybody applied for a teaching position? Anybody applied for a teaching position? Who raise your hand if you've applied. Okay, so 4 people? Okay. Because you have already applied, guess what you get today? You get a coffee cup.
What have I thought about it?
There you go. And who was the other person? Okay, all right. Excellent, Maria. Okay, so there will be more where that comes from. Okay, so please apply today. Here's the great thing. You have already applied for the clinical teaching position, so now all you need to do is go in there and edit your application to include the vacancy that you want. There may not be the vacancy that you want, so if you don't see a vacancy that's of interest to you, go ahead and apply for the general teaching pool, okay? And I can help you with that. Any of us can help you with that, all right? And your certification is going to be pending, and that's all right. But go ahead and apply, okay? All right? Yes, ma'am.
Even when I graduate in the spring?
So you can, let's have you wait just a little bit. So if you're a December grad, let's have you go ahead and apply. And then once we get to that March area, we'll get you applying. Yeah, that's a great question. And then the other thing is, have you guys seen the clinical teaching database that I created? Okay, go ahead and put your name on that database, attach your resume or send me your resume and I'll attach it. And I send that straight out to principals. Okay, so you'll probably be getting quite a few principal calls, just an FYI, all right? And here's the other great thing. If you find that you found a school that you're interested in, so for instance, you're at a school right now, maybe Stephanie, there's a spot at Truett Elementary School, and Principal Evans says, Stephanie, I want you to take the second grade teaching position. Somebody says, I love Truett, I'm down, I can do this. Stephanie can start teaching before January when she graduates. Stephanie will just need a letter of intent from her university or AC program that says, Stephanie has completed everything, she's completed all exams, there's no fees left, there's no tuition that she has to pay. The only thing that she has left is to graduate. And so we will actually process you, we won't process you as substitutes, we'll process you as teachers. And that is a huge thing that we just started doing. Does that make sense? Okay, so I have a couple of people right now that I have uploaded their letter of intent, and so we're processing them as teachers. Okay, yes, Stephanie?
So you said that we can start working once we graduate, even if it's this semester?
No, you can start working right after your placement is done.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't even have to wait until graduation to start, which helps with your salary.
Yes. Yeah. How do we get you to get the letter of intent?
So Tech, we did this last semester.
Okay.
So just get with your professor or your site coordinator and say, hey, I have found a position. What has to happen is you have to, get that position, and they have to want to hire you. And once that happens, then you get me the letter of intent. I upload it to your application, and then we can begin the process of getting you hired. okay? So it's a really nice step, so you don't have to start off as a substitute, okay? The next thing is the job fair. We have a job fair November 8th. It is from 5:30 to 7:30. You have early access to the job fair. We'll send out an invitation for you. Basically what that means is you'll get in before other candidates. Now we're not going to give you a ton of time, but we will at least give you a couple of extra minutes so you can go in there. And we will be there. I'll be there. I like sometimes feel like I'm a car salesman because I'm like, hey, Principal so-and-so, I want you to meet Lucy over here, you know. So I will connect you with principals. If you want to kind of already have a list of schools that you're thinking about, I will help you and introduce you to each one of those principals. Okay, we've got an interview day coming up. Hopefully everybody will already be hired, but if you're not, we have an interview day coming up, and it'll be with our teacher recruiters. Thanksgiving break, we have a celebration at the very end in December, and we do certificates and we do refreshments. So those are some of the upcoming events that we have going on. Any questions about that? Okay, all right. Let's get to the part. Let's get to the nitty gritty. Okay? Okay, tips for successful interview. Oops, I wonder why that's frozen. So you've got your PowerPoint, it's page 3 right here. I can't read that at all. Give us just 1 minute, we're gonna figure this out. F1? Okay, well I can wing it while Jordan is looking for it. First thing you want to do is make sure that you're prepared. Okay, and a lot of these things you've already heard, and so I'm just going to reiterate some of these things. So before you go for the interview, make sure that you capitalize on the resources that this district offers, okay, and which is also on page 2. Number 1 is school websites. Our school websites have the mission. Our school websites talk about the demographics. Our school websites talk about the academic performance. They talk about the school culture. So you have an idea of what the school offers. Make sure you have some sort of grounding on what the school offers and the direction that they're going, because when you're in your interview, you want to be prepared to talk a little bit about how you can move them forward with your skills and your abilities and your experience, okay? So make sure you do your research. If you know somebody that knows somebody at that school, reach out to them, okay? So, and you can always reach out to any of us. We can give you some good information as well. Another thing is look at our district website. We have a vision, we have a mission, we have, oh, great, excellent. Let's see here. Thanks, Jordan. So we have some things that you'll want to know about as well, just to keep in the back of your mind when you are interviewing. You want them to know, you know who they are, and you want to be able to forward their vision. Okay. The other thing is practice, practice, practice. There was somebody that I talked with a couple of weeks ago, and she said, you know, practicing just makes me more nervous. And what I would say is, like, as much practice as you can get with people and even without people. When I do interviews, I always like go to my bathroom and face the mirror, and I like ask myself and answer questions. It's like the more that you can get the language down that you want, the better it is. What's really cool is that you all have amazing experiences. So think of the 3 to 4 things that you're really proud of in your clinical teaching experience. Maybe there was a student that you know, he had his head down the whole time, and then you just kept building a relationship with him. And as you kept building a relationship, you noticed his head wasn't down as much. And then you noticed he started doing some of his work. And so talk about things like that, where you have taken a situation and you've moved it to progression. Think about any sort of any sort of lessons that you did where you saw the assessments were really positive. Think about classroom management, any strategies that you were able to use, any strategies you were able to mimic with your mentor teacher that has been really helpful for you. Think also about the opportunities where you didn't do as well and you had to redirect and figure out what to do next. We were just at UT Dallas, and one of the questions was, what if they asked me about what I've done wrong, if there's been a failure? Well, everybody, if you've been a teacher, there has been some sort of, opportunity where you didn't do as well as you thought you were going to do. And what people want to see, what principals want to see is you regroup and you turn it around and you try something new, you try something different. So you're able to read, you're able to adapt, you're able to be flexible. Attire, closed-toed shoes, try to have some subtle accessories. You don't want anything on your outfit to take away from what you're saying. Make sure everything is an appropriate length, and if you can, try to leave your cell phone and purse in your car. I get there may be emergencies or medical situations, so do what you need to do, but if you can, try to leave those things there. The other thing is, when you're going into the school, be as happy-go-lucky as possible, as friendly as possible. Those office managers, those front office staff run the school building. It's not the principal, it's them. They know everything about that school. And so they relay information to the principals about how the interaction went. So when you're in there, don't be on your cell phone. Okay, be as alert as possible, smile, be friendly. It's a vulnerable spot. We have all been through it. It's vulnerable, but know that this is going to help you. First impressions really matter, which leaves us right here. Arrive 10 to 15 minutes early. Greet and check in with the front office staff. After the interview, shake hands with the interviewees, and then send a thank you note or an email to the interviewers. We were talking about this again at UT Dallas. Sometimes people have thank you cards in their car, and they'll write a note and then go right back into the school and leave it and say, can you give this to Principal Evans? Okay, so it's just one way. You always want to follow up with people. Any questions about any of this? This is probably pretty straightforward for you guys. Remember, this is one long interview. Your clinical teaching experience is one long interview. So if your school placement doesn't have a spot, network. So those principals, those mentor teachers, those instructional coaches, they will help you out. If you're interested in a spot at your school, go ahead and start having those conversations with those principals. Let them know that you're interested in that spot. And if they don't have a spot for you, then talk with them about, see if they can help you. And I can help you as well. But you want to make sure that you're networking. Every single person can really be helpful in the future for you. Just like you'll repay that same favor for the next person who's coming in, right? For those brand new teachers that are wanting a job, okay? So try to network as much as you can. Okay, so let's do these mock interviews now. You ready? I know, this is like a quick transition. Okay. Okay, so what I would like is, let's see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if a Dallas ISD interviewer, anybody who's going to interview, if you will go to a table all on your own, that would be great. Okay, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and I'll take one person too. Okay, here's what I would like. Before you go to this person, I want this to be as real as possible, okay? So when you are going and sitting down with this person, remember first impressions matter. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to find someone right next to you and I want you to give them a powerful handshake and I want you to look them in the eye. Okay, how was that handshake? How was the eye contact? Was it pretty good? You know, like a kind of a weak handshake is almost like nails on a chalkboard, right? You don't want that and you don't give that to anybody, okay? So give them a strong handshake, look them in the eye, and don't wait for them to introduce themselves. You introduce yourself, okay? The other thing is they may ask you about yourself. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you say in something like that?
My favorite color is pink.
No,
I got 2 cats.
Yeah.
You heard of the 30-second elevator pitch? Okay, so say I'm on an elevator with Jordan, and this wasn't we weren't in an elevator, but I used to live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was trying to move down here to Dallas, and so I needed a job. And Jordan, I basically stalked Jordan until he gave me a job. And so I went to one of their job fairs, and I knew he would be super, this is a true story, by the way. I knew he was gonna be super, super busy, but I had it in my head what I was gonna say to him when I saw him. Literally, I had about like 30 seconds with this guy. And so I came over there, I shook his hand, and I told him, I said, hey Jordan, I'm Jill Peoples. We've been emailing over the phone. I just wanted to come and I wanted to meet you. I'm really impressed with this event. I don't know if I said that, but if I would have come back, I would say something like, I'm really impressed with this event and would love to join your team to be able to continue what you guys are doing of recruiting the best, brightest teachers. You know, something to that effect. It's like the opportunity to get 5 seconds with him to show him who I really am and that I'm not some random person, you know, in Nashville. Okay? So think about who you are and what you want and what your passion is. Okay? So they may ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself. And then after, you're going to go through a couple of questions with them. Interviewers, if you guys want to take 3 to 4 questions, you can do that. And then after you get through with the interview, then they're gonna say, okay, now let me give you a little bit of feedback. And then that's really where the growth takes place, is because you start thinking through, like, what can I do, what can I tweak to make sure that I'm conveying the right message. The other thing is make sure that you are confident, that you're not, you know, like fidgeting. Try to make sure you're checking your ums. And when you need a minute just to think, take a quick pause. It's okay, right? When I get nervous, I just talk. I know that's crazy. I know no one think that about me. But I do. I talk and I talk and I talk. So just try to be calm, take a deep breath, and just really think of this as a learning experience, okay? So let me divvy you guys up, and then once I do that, then I'll get you up, and then we can get going. Okay, Jose, I'm gonna have you go with Jordan. Give us a minute though. I wanna wait for you to say. Stephanie, you go with Priscilla. Sandra, I'm gonna have you go with Tony. Lucy, let's have you go with Blanca. And let's have Maria, let's have you go with Dominique. And then Giles, let's have you go with Zach. And then you can go with me. How about that? Good. Okay, so we're probably going to take, what's our time check right now?
5:05.
It's 5:05? Okay, so let's take about maybe 10 minutes to do the interview, and then after that, let's give about 5 minutes of feedback where you guys are just kind of, you have ended the interview, and now you're just giving some feedback. Oh, okay. You come with me. Okay, all right. Yes, Tony.
Just one quick point.
Absolutely.
For interviewers, we're only asking the first 3 questions that are on the document that are open.
So that's actually really helpful. Tony actually gave you a list of questions that we as a teacher recruitment team ask So that may not be, those may not be questions that your principal would ask, but you'll actually get those in a minute, I think, right, Tony? Are we giving those questions? So you're gonna get those questions. So those are some of the questions that you can practice with, which is really cool, okay? All right. Okay, on your mark, get set, go.
Did you say the first three questions?
And then I'm gonna get you.
First three bolded questions.
There's not a letter bolded on it.
Nice to meet you. Have a seat.
21, like a week into 21. Should probably be pretty darn close to 21.
Okay, are we about ready?
If not the youngest, you're pretty darn close. Yeah. So you can claim that title. I'm really close. Oh, yeah.
So I want to do this. I want to debrief over this. I want you guys as interviewees and as interviewers to talk about let's start with what went really well. What did you feel like went really well? Anybody? Interviewer, interviewee.
Receiving feedback on what we were saying.
Receiving feedback. What was some of the, yes, Priscilla?
I like that she talked about like what really has inspired her to become a teacher, and then also she talked about her strong point of building relationships with the students, which is extremely important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I was already like hired.
Right. Because if a principal sees that you care about kids, that's more than half the battle. We can teach you how to teach, but we can't teach you how to love kids. And if you can say that, then wow. Zach.
I'm just I agree with you. I just had campus visits this week, and I asked the principals, what are you looking for in a teacher? Do you want someone that's experienced, or do you prefer someone that's new? And their response is always, I can teach you how to teach. I want someone that has the attitude, that has a commitment to students, that is really in it for the students. So y'all may be worried about, I don't have the experience, but that's not necessarily a deal breaker for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you can show that you are adaptable and you're flexible and you are willing to learn and listen, wow, you've you've really made an impression. One thing that I feel like Tanya did really well was she gave examples of things. And I think that speaks volumes. Sometimes we speak up here in really generic terms. Like I went to UT Austin like a couple weeks ago, and I was talking with somebody, and she was like, I just really want to teach social justice in 4th grade math. And then went and spent the rest of the time talking about something else. And I was like, well, how would you teach social justice in math? How would you do that? And so it's very up here, but really they want to see what would you do? What have you done? Give me some examples. And I thought that was just spot on.
Yeah, no, I agree. That was one thing that Jose did really well, because he gave an anecdote. And that's where you guys have such a leg up on some of your competition, because you have done your student teaching, your clinical teaching here in the district. You know the lingo, you know the language that principals are looking for, and you have anecdotes that you can use from your time in the classrooms here. Because he was telling a story about how he was teaching the concept of push and pull, and how the first graders were having a tough time grasping it, so he took them on the recess and he was showing them some hands-on stuff. I was like, well done,
Yeah.
because you identified that they were having a problem, so I could tell that you're assessing their learning. And you also showed me how you kind of went above and beyond outside of the classroom, because you didn't need to take them to the recess to go out and show them these concepts, but you did. So using those examples and tying everything together, that is very, very powerful.
Yeah. How did you feel? Did you feel confident? Did you feel nervous in the interview? Was there anything that you were like, I need to work on this?
All of the above.
I needed to use the language that I've learned in the classroom and at school, like DOL and all of that, which it was in my mind, but I didn't mention it for some reason.
Sure.
So that would be important.
when she went blank on assessments, it's okay. I was like, wait, what? It's an assessment, yeah.
That one threw me.
Yeah, that'll be a good one for you guys to think through, because they're gonna probably ask you, they're not gonna ask you about assessments, they're gonna ask you about academic growth. There are gonna be academic questions in there. So the more that you can think through that, like what assessments have really worked in your classrooms, both formal and informal, which ones have not worked very well, how do you feel about assessments? I mean, I don't know, they may even ask you a question about that, you know? Are we testing too much? I don't know if they ask you that, but you know, like think of some of those things, because they're gonna ask you about classroom management, whether it's scenario based or just a straight up question about it. They're gonna ask you about academic growth. They're going to ask you probably about parents. You know, they're going to want to see that you are looking at the whole child. One question that was posed was, you know, how do you take a kid who's not doing well and make sure that by the end of the semester or the end of the year they're doing okay? And so in your response, you need to think through, like, what's going on with this kid here? You know, is there something going at home? Is he bored at school? Like, let me get to the root of this to figure out what's going on, so I can bring him to the next level. And then think through, look through those questions. If you guys have anything that you want to think through, you know, how would I answer this question? Let us know this well. Okay, let's go on to the resume portion. And like, huge thank you to our volunteer marketing coach. You guys can feel free to stay, feel free to head out, whatever is best for you. Okay, so if you have your resume, please get that resume out. If you don't have a resume, that's totally fine. We have a packet of, you know what? I didn't even print any blank resumes. I cannot believe I didn't even print any templates, but you can use your packet, the back of your packet. Should we print some blank resumes? Would anybody like a blank resume? Thank you so much, Priscilla. We really appreciate it so much. Anybody need it? You can absolutely get that up on there. Absolutely. We're good? Hey, how are ya? Good, awesome. Are you here for the clinical teaching workshop?
Yes.
Great.
Well, when you say clinical teaching.
Sorry, the career workshop?
Oh, yes, I am.
Wonderful. So glad you're here.
I'm sorry I'm late. I don't know.
Listen, no big deal. What is your name, ma'am?
I'm Jenny Dugan.
Okay, great.
You must be Jill.
Yeah, I'm Jill. Yeah.
Okay,
So
thank you.
glad you're here today. Okay, so if you have your resume out, did anybody bring their cover letter? You may not have brought your cover letter. We are gonna rush through this puppy like nobody's business, and then we're gonna move on to the resume. Okay? And probably, Jenny, this is the 4th page of your packet. Okay, so the cover letter is basically the roadmap to your resume. All right, you want to make sure that this sucker is as formal and grammatically correct as possible. You need somebody else to look at this. Don't just count on your accolades. Okay, have somebody else look at this. All right, so you, really the thing that you want to focus on is, first of all, you got your contact information, you've got the date, you've got the school contact information. So sometimes, you know, when we're sending out our cover letter and resume, we're like, you know, it's like we're handing out dollar bills, right? We're giving it to anybody and, you know, everybody who's got a pulse. Make sure that you look at it and make sure that it's up to date. Don't send a Grand Prairie ISD cover letter to Dallas ISD.
And that happens a lot. And it is a deal breaker.
Yeah, it's a total deal breaker. So make sure, and let me tell you something, I've done that before. I've done it. You know, I called somebody Mr. Hall and it was Mrs. Hall. Golly, you know, do you think I got an interview? Heck no, I didn't get an interview. So we all do it, but try as hard as you can to double, triple check your work, okay? So we start off with to whom, if you don't know who it is, to whom it may concern, but try to go to the website. Ask one of us if there's a principal that you're trying to, get hired by. That should be the principal's name right there, okay? Principal Evans, Ms. Evans, Dr. Wilson, something like that. Okay, and then the first paragraph, you're just going to introduce yourself, talk about the interest in the resume, and give a little quick overview about your experience. After 10 years in education, I know how to juggle the responsibilities of developing strategic communications, analyzing data, collaborating with outside partners, and completing day-to-day operations. If you're looking for someone who can not only keep up, but also knows recruitment from a teacher perspective, higher education perspective, and district perspective, I am your candidate. So you're feeling a little bit of confidence in there. This is not the best cover letter ever, but it's just an example for you, okay? So try to be as confident as you can. I am your person, okay? This is about your relevant experience. The second and third paragraphs. You should show how your experience within other jobs will contribute to the job that you're wanting. So this, what do you think this spot should be about? Probably your clinical teaching experience, okay? And maybe your experience in the district. It's really cool when a principal knows that you've been a clinical teacher in the district because you know about the district. You're not coming in completely blinded. Okay, so talk a little bit about this experience. Give specific examples of any experiences you've had, any skills that you've developed, any values that directly will impact the work. Because it's not about you benefiting, it's about them benefiting. So you want that perspective in everything. I am here because I want to move your mission forward. If your mission is taking every student and making them get on grade level, how can I do that? Okay, so this is where that research portion comes into play. You're probably not going to have every single cover letter, every single resume is not going to fit every single job you apply for, which kind of stinks sometimes, Okay, yes.
And you do have to be careful too, because on our application website, you'll only submit one cover letter that will be attached to every single job you apply for. So if you're gonna email a principal your cover letter and resume, tailor it to their specific school information. But in terms of just your application online, you don't want the principal at Anson Jones Elementary to see a letter that you wrote to Peace Elementary. You want it to be a little bit more generic for that application piece.
That is such a good point. So when you're applying for a generic teaching application position, make it generic to whom it may concern. Okay, and speak as if you're applying to the district.
Yeah.
Talk about your clinical teaching experience, but don't tailor it to a single principal.
But definitely whenever you and you should email directly to principals. Principals actually welcome that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So and if you do that, then definitely put their campus information to principal so and so. If you know anything about the campus and that's why you're applying to work there, I've read about your bilingual program at your campus and it's really exciting to me and here's why. Do that when you email it directly to them. The application piece, leave it generic.
And then last, in your closing, just re-emphasize your interest in moving to the next step in the application process and provide a salutation sincerely. Nothing like yours truly or grace and peace or love. Try to keep it as formal as possible. There's a source that I used when I was looking for a job here in Dallas. It was called The Muse. And The Muse had a really good article on cover letters. That would be, so you might want to look at that as well.
The Muse, you said?
The Muse. M-U-S-E, The Muse. Okay. Now let's get to the real stuff. Probably you have a page resume. If you haven't been a teacher before, you probably have a page resume. Okay, so when you're thinking about your resume, there's a couple of things. Number one, have your certification at the top. Don't make them dig for where your resume is. Number 2, I put a little section about me. I can't stand job objectives. We already know that you want to be a 4th grade teacher, you know, like you're just restating that. So, but if some of your universities and AC programs are going to make you do that, so stick with what they say, but it seems a little redundant to say, I am applying, I'm interested in a 4th grade teaching position, when that's exactly what you're applying for. So I do a little concise, this is my 30-second job spiel, you know, my elevator speech about me. Over 3 years of experience working with children of all ages in many different environments, preparation and building engaging lessons, managing student behavior, and involving parents in their child's lessons progress. Okay, so this isn't my resume, but I think I just created a generic one. Okay, so short, very quick, very concise. And then in your experience, you've got to have your clinical teaching in there. Think about other things that you've done that deal with children or deal with parents or deal with something in relation to the responsibilities of a teacher. Do you guys have some ideas of what you could put right here for your work experience? Anybody have any questions about this?
I have a question. If we do have a resume right now,
Yeah.
will someone be able to look over it?
Yes, we're gonna look over it.
Okay.
We're gonna do some peer reviews. Sorry, I'm probably spending way too much time on this part. Okay, we can look over this. Make sure right here you have a couple of bullet points. Make sure that your bullet points start with a verb. Don't start with I. Let's take away the redundancy here. Of course it's I, it's your resume. I did this, take out the I. Take out anything, any dead verb. Go tomorrow, have a funeral for all dead verbs in your resume. Don't let them in, block them out. Anything that doesn't get to the point needs to be taken out. Okay? If you have adjective, the same adjectives, look and see if you've got the same adjectives. Do you have create 40 times in your resume? Take out create, put something else in, put design, put develop, put implement. And then classroom observer. If you've been a classroom observer, which all of you have, if you want to put this experience, you can. If you have been a nanny, child care provider, did you babysit? Did you work at a church and help out? Then you've been a child care provider. But I would not go back eons ago unless, I wouldn't do that and put, I was a waitress at, which is great, it's great work, but put that, I was a waitress at Outback when I was in college, unless, you really can tie that back to that, to the field in education. Okay? Yes?
Is it okay to just have the clinical teacher stuff in this bullet point that don't and then get into the education after that?
I wouldn't bullet point the heck out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would have like 4 to 5 bullets.
Okay.
And you're about done.
4 to 5, okay.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you want to highlight the things that you achieved during that time period. And that's another thing. You don't want to put things that are too generic, I guess, that it's like, it's a given that you did that. Okay. But I think the first bullet point on there is pretty good. Utilize student assessment data to plan with cooperative teacher and reteach lesson. That's generic, yes, but it gives a specific result. 25% of students increased their retake scores. So the more specific you can get with a bullet point, the better. And you just want to highlight, just like Jill said, those top 4 or 5 things. Because a principal, for their teaching position, they might have to sift through 50 resumes to select the one person. So you don't want them to have to read and read and read and read and read to get to the point. Yeah. You want them to just see those big highlights of what have you done, and show me your worth, show me your value in the classroom.
You want it to be educationally focused and results driven.
Yes.
What did you do to make a difference? We've all planned a lesson. We've all collaborated with teachers. We've all helped little Jimmy gain confidence, but what did it actually do? How did it actually help the kids?
Yeah. And I know at the same time that can be a little difficult when you haven't been a full-time teacher of record yet. So, I mean, you can still put things in there even if you don't necessarily have those specific data points. I mean, it's always ideal to include those, but I also...
Or even I did this, implementing classroom management strategies such as individual student conversations and engaging lessons to decrease distractions at the beginning of class. I didn't put a percentage there, but I knew that because I implemented some of these lessons, because I did this, I decreased distraction at the beginning of class. Or because I collaborated with this teacher, we were able to make this really engaging, differentiated lesson that really increased engagement. You know, so think of the 3 to 5 things that you're really proud of that you have done. Okay? Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna actually skip a little bit of this, and we're gonna go straight to the resume, because this is more of if you haven't created a resume yet. So I want you to find a partner, okay? And Jordan and I are going to kind of walk around, but I want you to focus on a couple of things, okay? One thing that I want you to focus on, well, there's a couple of things. Number one, I want you to make sure that it's grammatically correct. Okay, so you're gonna have somebody go through it to make sure it's grammatically correct. I'll work with you. The next thing I want you to make sure is that your resume is educationally focused and results driven. Okay? And then the last thing is making sure that you get rid of any unnecessary things in your resume that shouldn't be there. Okay? Like the dead verbs, the I's, having the I's. You want to start every bullet point with an active verb. All right, so those are the things that I want us to work on. What time is it, Jordan?
It is 5:53.
5:53.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we have a few minutes to do this, and I will stay around. Wow! Man, I'm disappointed in myself. Okay.
Time management skills important at all jobs.
It
That's
is.
okay.
Okay, so let's actually spend just a few minutes. I will stop you, but I want you to switch resumes. Okay?
I thought somebody was in there, that's why. Go ahead.
And you don't have a resume?
You know, this is your email. Mine's probably way too early in the process. I mean,
That's
I'm
okay.
just
I will
starting
work
to
with you. Why don't you two get together?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, just,
Yes.
you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
But I never really
so
got to
tell me,
really
Jenny,
look at it, so I'm just gonna.
you have anything to do with it, that you can bring back to skills and responsibilities in education? Hey, how are we doing?
Good.
We're good.
Good.
You said that you were gonna send all that.
Yes, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna send this PowerPoint to you.
Oh, yeah.
What do you feel like, what are some of the areas where you need to work on for your resume? If you got a lot of space, if you see a lot of white, I don't have a whole lot of white on my resume. Okay, so make sure you're making the most, nothing cute. You don't want anything cute. You remember Legally Blonde, the pink resume with the perfume? Get that out of your mind, right? Okay, don't make it cute. Make it very clean. You want it to be very, very clean. You want your experience, and then you want your bullet points. This all needs to be like the same font, okay? We don't need like bold stuff everywhere, high italicized everywhere, underlined everywhere. You want somebody to look at it and know exactly what you did, okay? I am going to be here for as long as you need. Okay, if you want me to check out your resume, I'm staying and I will look at your resume. Also, if you need to go, send me your resume and I'll look at it tomorrow and I'll give you feedback this week. Okay, so if you'd rather do that, I can do that as well. But I would love, love, love to give you some feedback. You know, everybody needs feedback. I just need feedback, you know. And then last thing is, sorry, I didn't do very well with the resume portion and time management. I'm really sorry about that. That was my fault. The last thing, I just want Jordan, can you give like a 2 to 3 minute spiel about working in the district and what they should know, you know, what's specific to our district?
Dallas ISD is the best. Work with us. Done. I can do, fastest speech ever. No, so I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, let's put this on you. Yeah.
Okay. So, give me 1 second. I feel very official with this going on. If I can figure out how to clip it on. Yeah, that's good enough. All right, so I will not go too in depth because as you are already working in the district in your clinical teaching role, you probably already know a lot of the highlights. Are all of you elementary? No, I heard someone say middle school, but everybody else is elementary.
Junior's high school.
Oh, and you're observing in high school. Okay. Not that necessarily factors into what I'm going to say. I'm curious more than anything. So for working in the district, we have a lot of really big priorities and a lot of big projects that we're working on. If you just read the news stories about Dallas and about how we're asking for additional money, tax money right now from the people who live in the area, we do that because we are laser focused on serving our students. I mean, the most important thing, you can toss out words like school choice, you can toss out words like collegiate academy. Everything we do has the end result of improving the lives of our students through giving them the absolute best possible education we're able to do. You all are the front lines for that. You are the most crucial, most important pieces of this whole organization. And we are fully cognizant of that. And I guess the first thing I can say is thank you for choosing Dallas ISD as your clinical teaching placement. We love that you're here. We love that we're able to provide opportunities like this. I know today we are a small but mighty group, but we are so incredibly happy that you're here. Jill will continue working with you to give you more opportunities for learning and growth outside of your clinical teaching placement. But just know those are the kinds of things that we continue doing for our teachers far into your full-time teaching career once you start with us. There are all kinds of mentorship opportunities. There are all kinds of opportunities to continue learning and continue growing in the profession. So just know that we want you here, we want you to be the absolute best teacher that you can be, and we're going to support you as much as possible as you continue on that path throughout your entire career. There are a lot of exciting opportunities in the district, and there will continue to be over the next few years because we have seen some really, really exciting growth because of some of the programs that we do have in place. Is anybody at an ACE campus right now? Does anyone know what ACE is? Have you heard the term
Is
ACE?
Truett ACE?
Truett, I feel like it was.
Okay.
ACE stands for Accelerating Campus Excellence. So it's just one of those initiatives that we have where we build some additional teaching allotments on the campus. There's some extra tutoring for the kids. We literally are trying to do anything we possibly can to improve the outcomes for our students. So just know when the time comes when you finish, we'll have a place for you, and it'll be a place where it's something that interests you because there's such a wide range of schools to work in. So there's just a ton of opportunity here, but again, I can't stress enough how important you are as the individual teacher and how we, even once you finish your clinical teaching, we're going to be here to support you every step of the way. So if you're 2-3 years into your teaching career with us and you say you want to reach out to Jill because you're like, okay, I've been at this campus for 3 years, I think I'm ready to interview for an assistant principal position, or I'm ready to be an instructional coach, or I'm ready to do XYZ. we'll continue helping you with that. So I mean, you're facilitating connections right now that are going to go way beyond this experience, and we want to be there at the other step of the way. So, yes, I have questions about the resume. Yeah.
That thing on there, is that a LinkedIn icon right there?
Yes, it looks, this one does have that. I mean, I wouldn't say that that's mandatory to include on your resume.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is a tool that's much more, I guess, it's much more highly used for non-teaching positions, but LinkedIn is becoming more of a tool that principals are using for teachers. So if you don't have a LinkedIn account, it is good to create one. And the good thing about already having your resume all worked out is you can literally just copy and paste the text from your resume into your LinkedIn profile, and it just helps put a face with a name. So definitely not mandatory, but it's a nice to have, not necessarily a have to have. Yeah, and I really echo everything Jill has said, and I think one of the most important pieces that she did not toot her own horn enough and didn't really stress too much is when Jill decided that it was time for her to come to Dallas, she was tenacious in getting in touch with me. Like, there was no stopping her coming and meeting with me, which is a little scary. No, but the important thing is, yes, she found my information. I'm pretty sure you found me on LinkedIn.
You have a contact that I know.
Okay. So Jill used
I did find you on LinkedIn, I think it was.
Jill used her sleuthing skills to get my specific contact information, send me emails, which I knew her name, I knew her resume, and then she took that extra step of traveling from Nashville to Dallas to come to an event that really she didn't need to be at, because it was a teacher job fair. She's not even interviewing to be a teacher, but she came just to meet with me, just to have those 30 seconds. A principal will love that. If you decide, you know what, there's this campus that I'm so interested in working in, don't stop until you get a response. I mean, principals will appreciate the fact that you're reaching out to them and you're sending them emails and you're contacting them. So, I mean, just, you have us to help you every step of the way, but sometimes you have to have a little bit of tenacity too. So don't get discouraged at all in the process, because we can definitely find a home for you here.
We start at 52,000, and then with our Teacher Excellence Initiative, which is the way in which we provide our compensation to you, you can easily within 3 years be making 60. So it's about, performance, how you are performing, how your students feel about you, the way they, way you're assessed, the way they're assessed, and the surveys.
Have any of your mentor teachers talked to you about the Teacher Excellence Initiative, about TEI?
I've heard it mentioned a lot.
Yeah, I've heard it mentioned,
Okay, so I can give you a super like 50,000 foot overview, because it can get really complicated even for people who've been working here for years. TEI is our teacher compensation, evaluation and compensation model. So it pairs those evaluations that the teachers get and puts them on the compensation scale. Now the cool thing about it is they are never going to just look at a snapshot of those end of year test results and say, well, you failed, you get the bottom end of the salary scale. That is not the case. They look at 3 things. These 3 things are really big buckets, but one is your teacher performance really based on the evaluation. So when the principal comes in and observes the teacher throughout the year, they are looking at your growth, seeing how you've taken the feedback, seeing how you've used it to improve your lessons, things like that. A new teacher can have upwards of 10 evaluations or 10 observations per year, which is a lot, but as you grow, it is a lot, don't get me wrong, but as you grow and you get more experience and the principal's more familiar with you, that can go down to 5, 6, I mean, it can be much smaller. So that's one piece. Another piece is student achievement, which is based on their growth. So they do not look at just the star results at the end of the year. They look at where your students began from the pre-assessments. They look at assessments throughout the year, and then they do look at the end of year results. So if you get a class of students, just throwing some random stuff up there. If you got a class of students that were 3 years below grade level, and at the end of the year you got them 1 year below grade level, yes, they're still below grade level, but you raised them 2 years growth in 1 year's time. So they would look at that and make sure that that's factored in. So the final piece, the third and final piece, which this one depends on the age group. Anybody that teaches 3rd grade or above, the students are evaluated, the students at the end of the year do an evaluation of you. So what they don't do, a common misconception is my students are going to be ticked off at me that day for whatever reason, and they're going to give me a bad evaluation, and then my compensation will be bad. They do not ask things like, do you like your teacher? Is your teacher nice? They're not going to ask things like that. What they do ask are really research-based, and tons and tons and tons of focus has been put on the wording of these. They'll ask things like, do you feel safe in class? When you come to class and you have an issue, can you talk to the teacher about it? Things like that. And any outliers, and when they analyze the results from those student evaluations, any outliers are removed. So if you're scoring consistently really, really well, and you have one student who scored you the lowest of the low, then no, okay, I can probably take that one out because it's a far outlier. So it is fair, it's an entirely fair process. So they look at those 3 things, wrap them all together into one summative score, and that places you on the compensation scale. As a novice teacher, as a brand new teacher in the district, you start out at $52,000. You won't drop below that. The next year, you'll either stay at $52,000 or move up to another step. You can move 1 step per year. And the very top of the scale is for master teacher level. And that's for teachers who teach at higher needs campuses and kind of take on some additional duties. So taking on some coaching responsibilities, things like that. You can earn $90,000 per year. And we do have a lot of teachers who have hit that and are making $90,000 in a teaching role, which is awesome. And that's the whole concept behind the Teacher Excellence Initiative, is to make sure that teachers are compensated fairly. Like, if you are going above and beyond and you're taking on coaching skills, coaching other teachers, you're taking on these group sponsorships, and you're the chess club coach and you're the drama team coach and all that stuff, we want to make sure that you're compensated for that. So it's can be more complicated from there. Like I said, that's a very high level overview, but if you...
3 things, so that's...
3 things.
STAR.
So it's student growth, student achievement, your performance based on the observations from the principal, and student surveys if you teach 3rd grade or above. Now, the age level, like if you're teaching a 1st grade class, because I know you and I were talking about you teaching the younger kids, the student survey is not a part of it, and so they'll kind of use different ratios for how they factor those 3 different pieces in. And then it's different, like for someone who's teaching in a special education classroom versus an art classroom, things like that. So they'll make sure that it's a fair compensation model no matter what classroom you're in. If you're interested in learning more about that, there is a website. It's literally just tei.dallasisd.org. Like I said, it can get really complicated as you're reading through it, so if you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to us. If we're not able to answer the question, we can connect you with someone from the TEI team. There's a whole team dedicated just to TEI. So I know we could definitely connect you there if you need some more in-depth discussion. But just know that's the basic framework, is those 3 things that they factor to do 1 score at the end of the year.
So we are, I think we're probably over time now.
Okay. We are about 20 minutes over time.
Okay. So feel free to stick around and ask more questions. And you can either just hand me your resume and I can take a look at it and scan it back to you, or you can email it to me. It's whatever's best for you, but I'll make sure that I look over your resume because I know that's really important. So thank you all for being here today. It was so great to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What's the best TEI
presentation?
Yeah.